Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode on the Pole Position channel. This episode and this video is all around F1 news that has come around this week. I'm doing a lot of these at the minute because with testing coming around and with car launches, coming around and being unveiled soon, or now already, as we're going to get on to with one of the news stories. There's a lot of news going around in the F1 world at the minute, so I thought, I'd just keep doing videos about F1 news and just discuss some of the things that are going on. So, in this week, we're going to be talking from bits of Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, stuff Christian Horner's been saying to do with the Chinese Grand Prix, and we have had a launch of a car livery already. So we're going to get into that as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first bit of news we're going to be talking about is Max Verstappen saying, I can beat Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship and Lewis Hamilton is not God. Now these were the quotes that were taken in an interview that he did. Max Verstappen claims that he can beat Lewis Hamilton this season as long as the car is good enough. And I think that's something that everybody's been saying, really. I mean, we've seen Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton sort of fight for the last couple of years. Hasn't been every race, hasn't been wheel to wheel every race. I think that's something every F1 fan wants to see. Wants to see these two drivers battling out, the youngster versus Mr. Experienced in Lewis Hamilton. I think it's something that everybody wants to see. We saw a bit of it in Hungary last year, Mexico. When Max Verstappen, obviously was he's sort of in his element in that track as well. So I think, as long as Red Bull give Max Verstappen a car, he's obviously, like I said in the last videos, he's signed a new deal with Red Bull. Obviously believes that they can give him a car to win the Drivers' Championship. Hopefully this season, that is something that they can achieve together. I think it would be fantastic to see them two drivers battling it out. We want to see it. In his interview, he said thinks the team in Red Bull can mount a challenge to Mercedes. I hope that is true. Like I said, that would be awesome to see. And if Ferrari bring their A game this season as well, actually to have the three top teams, being at their best and fighting for each win, there will be something and will be a great season, hopefully. He goes on to say Lewis is very good. He's definitely one of the best out there, but he's not God. Maybe God is with him, but he is not God. That's an awesome quote. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, believes, still I rise is one of the things he says a lot. He believes in God and everything like that. But the way Max Verstappen has sort of used that and said, he is not God. God might be on his side, but he's not God. And I think, this is a year, hopefully, that Max is going to step up even more. We've obviously he's this good talent, up and coming, but I think he obviously wants to move away from up and coming, wants to be like one of the main guys fighting for the championship this season. So, have to wait and see what testing brings, says Verstappen, but I'm very much looking forward to it, as am I. Hopefully, like I said, this will be a season where Max Verstappen and Red Bull and, Charles Leclerc at Ferrari and even, I suppose, Alex Albon trying to step up in that role. They can bring their A games and see if we can mount a challenge to Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, and of course Valtteri Bottas is in the mix as well. He came second in the Drivers' Championship last year. He will want to do well this season. Of course, there's contract talks for the end of this season for both Mercedes drivers. So Valtteri Bottas has still got a lot to do to keep that seat as well. So yeah, in terms of Max Verstappen, I hope Red Bull give him a good enough car, and I hope we see him versus Lewis Hamilton for the Drivers' Championship for this 2020 F1 season. Now, the second bit of news is to do with Max Verstappen's team principal at Red Bull, and that's Christian Horner. And they've been talking to him about the stuff that's going on in China, and of course the coronavirus and everything that's going on in China at the moment. And they've been talking to him about what he thinks about the Chinese Grand Prix. Obviously, that the race is due to take place in April. So there's been a lot of discussion about it, and Christian Horner trusts the F1 bosses to make the correct decision on whether or not they should be racing or not. Like I said, race is due to be held in Shanghai on the 19th of April. But he says that he believes that the bosses will make the necessary due diligence about maybe delaying, postponing, or just cancelling the race. I think cancelling the race would be a huge sort of blow to the season. Obviously, it's the whole how many races we're doing this year. We're doing more races than ever before. So I think the fact that cancelling it probably isn't an option. Delaying it and postponing it for maybe to the end of the season might be something they can do. But I suppose it's just waiting to see and sort of continuing to look and monitor the progress in what's going on. But yeah. It was probably on the agenda. There was an F1 strategy group that was on Wednesday this week, so hopefully they will have obviously discussed it. They probably will, and like Christian Horner says, he trusts the people that are obviously looking into this. Interestingly, Formula E actually cancelled their race in China that was supposed to be held on the 21st of March. Now that's almost a month in between Formula E and Formula 1, but Formula E have made the decision to cancel their race. Which I suppose F1 will be monitoring and seeing. That's like a month away from ours. What do we do about it? So it will be interesting to find out. What will happen. I hope they don't cancel it. Maybe they delay it. Maybe they postpone it to later on in the season. And that one's just a weekend off. I don't know. I mean, the calendar's already pretty stacked up. So to somehow find a place at the end of the season, I suppose, will be difficult in itself. But I hope they don't lose the race, as an F1 fan. Even though the Chinese Grand Prix isn't the best Grand Prix, it's still a race and I still enjoy watching them. So hopefully, something does happen that's not a cancellation of the race. And like I said, Christian Horner trusts F1 bosses over the decision that they make in terms of the Chinese Grand Prix. A little quick bit of news, just a small little news here is that Williams have signed Jack Aitkin as a reserve driver for this up-and-coming season. He has been with Renault for the past 2 years, again as a reserve and test driver, but the British driver will join Williams as a reserve driver this season. I think that's a good move. Williams, like I said, signing Nicholas Latifi, and they've obviously got George Russell. They've now got Jack Aitkin, who's 24. I think Latifi is 25 or 26. So it's a very young team now in terms of the drivers that Williams have got. But I think that's good. I think young drivers, fresh blood, new ideas. I think that's what they need. George Russell, like I said, impressed me, even though the car was nowhere last year. So to sign another young driver, I think Williams are moving in the right direction. Hopefully he brings some knowledge and obviously helps the team to try and move up the order. But that's just a little quick bit of news that Jack Aitkin has signed for Williams as a reserve driver for next season. Now, one of the main bits of news this week to talk about is, out of nowhere, Haas just decided to unveil their car for the 2020 season. Now, they haven't actually fully unveiled the car. They've given us concept or images of the car this season. I will put some up on the screen. Does look very nice. They've gone back to their old livery that they sort of started out in F1 with. Gene Haas uses this type of livery for his other motorsport works in America. So the challenger for this season is called the VF/20 or -20. And like I said, it returned to the original base colours of grey, red and black and the livery. They obviously had a different livery last year for the sponsorship, but that didn't really work, so they've gone back to their old colours, and it does look a nice car. Looking forward to it. Bit of surprise that they put these pictures out. They were supposed to sort of announce the car's unveiling on the first day of the first week of testing. So the fact that they've actually come out and give us concept images already is good to see. I'm really looking forward to it. Gene Haas has been talking about it as well. Sort of a fresh start. We know the problems we had last season. We want to obviously try and rectify that. We think we have. Gunther Steiner, last year was definitely a setback. One I would never have asked for, but you learn from such situations. We have to deliver where the previous car didn't. So hopefully, like I said, it was a bit of a shame to see Haas, so far down and having such a terrible season really last year. Let's be honest. And so hopefully, this car, every car is different. New car, new ideas. They've had the winter to look over it. So hopefully, Haas do deliver a bit better than they did last season. Still have the same drivers of Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. I think Romain Grosjean put out saying he's really looking forward to driving the car. Of course, why wouldn't you be? So I think let me just have a look. Kevin Magnussen will drive the first day of the test. Grosjean will take the second day, and then they think the drivers will split on the Friday for the first week of testing. Not sure about the second week, but yeah, that's the first week of testing. And then, of course, like we said, we've obviously got all the cars will be unveiling. I think it's next week now, so we've obviously got Ferrari. I think the first, they're on the 11th, and then obviously all the way up to testing on the 19th of February. So it's all looking good. Haas, like I said, have unveiled pictures for their car for the 2020 season. And so that's just a little bit of news coming out of the F1 world this week. Obviously next week we're going to be having all the liveries coming out for the cars and for the teams for next season. Loads more interviews from possibly the drivers and from the team principals. So I think next week's going to be even more to talk about. But this week's just a few things. Obviously Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen rivalry is something we want to see. And of course, one of the other main headlines of that Haas unveiling pictures for their 2020 season car. So there's just a few things. Like I said, I really enjoy doing these at the minute, and I'm looking forward to obviously continuing. Thank you very much for watching these videos. I know the last one did really well, and I'm really enjoying putting these out. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you very much.